Good morning, everyone. And I hope you're doing great. And I would just like, to introduce Disha ma'am for, having an onboard on this Grow Junction platform for, giving her views on product management and really what it matters. And so I would request, ma'am, could you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Thank you, Anshul. Thank you for having me on your podcast. And I'm pronouncing your name right? It's Anshul.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So thank you, Anshul. Thank you for having me on your podcast. It's an honor to be here. And I'll just give a little bit of introduction about myself. I'm Disha Chauhan. I currently work as a product manager with Microsoft in Hyderabad, with their IDC, that is India Development Center. And if I have to talk about my journey as a product manager, then I actually came from an electronics engineering background, worked as an engineer with the largest PSU in India in the oil and gas space. And then I decided that I wanted to move into product management, went for my MBA. And even after my MBA, I wasn't very sure of what product management is. I actually wanted to work in technology because I love technology and I had a passion for building products. But at that point of time, I didn't know what a product manager is. So I took up a job in the technology space and I slowly understood that product management is the right fit for me. So I worked at Tech Mahindra, then I worked at Microland, and now I work at Microsoft. So I moved from being a pre-sales consultant to being a product manager in tech. And I think my passion for technology has kept me going from being an engineer to being a product manager. So today I hope to talk to you and to your audience a lot about product management. And I recently onboarded to the Grow Junction platform because as I said, it's been a little bit of a journey for me to discover product management. And I feel that my experience can help a lot of students who are currently pursuing their MBA to develop the right kind of skills if they want to get into product management. That the journey that I went through can actually be shortened for a lot of people if I share my experience. And that's where Grow Junction came along, and I onboarded to the platform as an instructor so that I can help students who are currently pursuing their MBA.
Thank you, ma'am. That was quite a great of an introduction. Well, I would just like to know, have you ever thought like starting to be an engineer, what you said, and then you went in different industries, and then you moved on finally to do with your master's in management, and then landing up at such a great organization that a lot of us would and just imagine, to be in such a place. So can you just talk more about like how, or maybe in the past you ever imagined that, okay, this is the industry that I would like to get in, or possibly, you had a greater vision. Okay, these are the steps, and maybe you mentioned right the shortened process for a lot of us, that it could be a short path for a lot of us who want to get in such organizations. So if you can, share about your vision and experiences.
Right. So thank you for that, Anshul. So like right from when I was in school, I actually liked technology. Like I know in India, a lot of people end up doing engineering even when they're not very sure if they want to get into technology. But in my case, it was a little different. I actually liked technology. I loved science. I was doing well academically, so it was also like from a standpoint of getting into technology was not getting into science and technology wasn't that big of a challenge for me at that point of time because I actually liked it. Plus, I was doing well in it, so I was able to get into science and technology in my school years as well. And then beyond that, I hadn't thought a lot. Like at that age, when I was in school, I was very sure. I was like, at that age, I didn't even know what an engineer does on a daily basis, or maybe product management is something that I hadn't even heard. So I don't know what a product manager does. But I had a vision of being able to work on something that impacts the world. So like a technology, a product that is taken to the world. So from a very earliest memory, I remember I used to look up to people like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and look at what they were doing. And I was very inspired by all of that. Like I used to see Steve Jobs launching product on a stage, and my vision was that one day I'm going to do the same thing. I had no idea how, but I wanted to do that. I wanted to be involved with technology in a way that it creates an impact in the world. So that was a very vague vision at that age. So that's when I got into, like, I started pursuing my engineering. I did my BTech in electronics engineering. And even while I was pursuing my electronics engineering, I was quite sure that I want to do a job which is in core electronics because I liked what I was studying. So that's where I went on to do a job in the automation space with Indian Oil. Indian Oil Corporation is a PSU, oil and gas space. But I soon discovered that at that point, I discovered that the job is exactly not about technology. It was very much about operations and supply chain management. though I was in the space, my official title was engineering officer for retail automation. So what was happening was that the petrol stations were getting automated, and I was responsible for a project in a particular geography, of this project of automation in a particular geography. But I was responsible as a project manager, very much like a supply chain manager, making sure that the vendors were doing their job well or their job in the right way. So I wasn't getting my hands dirty in creating any products. I was giving specifications, but I wasn't actually doing any of the technical stuff or the product development stuff. So that's where I thought that this is not where I want to go with my career. So it's a great job, a great opportunity for anyone who is trying to build their career in that space. A lot of impact as well, because as we know, oil and gas is essential services. So the work that I was doing was obviously impactful. But then it was not exactly where I wanted to go. And I didn't see a growth for myself because I was not aligning with it. Like it was not something that made me naturally happy, or it was not something that I wanted to build a career in. So that's where I thought that maybe I'll make a switch. But then I will, like, one thing, even at that point, it was clear that I still want to be in technology. Now, no, I don't know how, but I want to be in this domain only. So that's where I thought that I'll go ahead and do an MBA, and post MBA, I will try and join a technology domain company. And as you said, Microsoft is always aspirational for anybody who wants to work in technology. So that's where I decided to do my MBA. After joining IIM Indore, I again kind of focused. I was slightly focused on technology, but like this is what happens when you join an MBA course and you have no reference or guidance. There are so many things happening around you that immediately new horizons of career have opened up that you did not really realize were there. So before joining MBA, I was quite sure that I want to be in technology. But then when I joined, I realized there are so many ways in which I can be in technology. Like I could even be a consultant in technology. I could even be a business analyst, or product management was one of the options, but there were many other options. And at that point of time, I was not very sure because I did not really understand all these different roles and what the day to day will look like and whether it will make sense to me or not. So I made a lot of, like, as I said, it was a bit of a journey. So for me to be able to zero in on this is what I want to do. So I tried for getting into technology domain, and that's where I got into Tech Mahindra. So my campus placement was in Tech Mahindra for a program that they call GLC, that is Global Leadership Cadre, where they hire B school graduates. And then at the time of hiring, you're not told which department you will be working for. At the end of orientation, you get to decide which department you want to work with. So at the end of my orientation, I wanted to work with IoT, which is Internet of Things, which was fairly new technology. Like it's still, I would say, fairly new compared to other technologies that Tech Mahindra was working on at that point of time. So I did not really want to get into the traditional business that Tech Mahindra had. I wanted to get into the core cutting edge technology kind of business. So that's where I joined the IoT space. I worked in the IoT space as a pre-sales consultant for about 6-8 months. And that is where I think I had the maximum learning about what technology business is. How is it run? What are the growth factors? What are the cost factors? What are the different roles that an MBA graduate can do in the technology space? And that is when I discovered product management. That was the first time that I understood what product management is. And that's where it made sense to me that this is the role that will give me the opportunity to create products, something that I've been saying for long, but I did not really know how to. But product management is something that will give me that opportunity. So within Tech Mahindra, I made a transition from being a pre-sales consultant to being a product manager for healthcare IoT. The transition was a little bit easy because it was in the same department. I already knew about the product a lot. I knew the people who were working on it. So it was a little bit easy to move within the department, within the same company. Whereas if someone is trying to change company and role, that becomes a little bit difficult. So after working as a product manager in healthcare IoT with TechM for some time, I moved to a different company again as a product manager for industrial IoT space. Now the goal was that now I had covered 2 steps. I was in technology, plus I was working on building products. But the problem was that both these organizations were service organizations. They were predominantly service organizations. They do not dabble in products so much. IoT was one space in which they were dabbling in product, but not to my satisfaction. Like it was not like the strategy of the company was actually not very focused on products. So I did not see a growth for my career as a product manager, unless I decided to take up more of pre-sales roles or more of strategic business roles. As a product manager, I wouldn't be able to grow in these organizations, is what I was seeing for myself. But I wanted to grow as a product manager. So that's why I wanted to move from services organization to product organization. That's where I made the switch to Microsoft. From my client to I moved to Microsoft as a product manager again. So yeah, so this is the journey that I've had. In terms of vision, the only vision I started with, that I want to work with technology and use it to create impact. Rest everything I have discovered on the way. Like the rest everything is every step has prepared me for the next step. It was like that. So it's been a bit of a journey that way. Does that answer your question? Very long.
That's like a great journey. I mean, yeah, where I feel like everybody have a unique journey in terms of whatever we achieve in the long term. So, I mean, it sounds great, actually. Where, I mean, how do you think, like, I mean, well, let's suppose if we, put our foots in the first year of our master's program, and maybe who do not have, I'll say, a work experience like you actually have in the past, or maybe, who are not engineers possibly, but they are kind of be commerce students, but not science students
Right.
possibly, and they want to get in product management and they had no work experience. And maybe so, how can they set their path, maybe from their first year to the second year, looking for internships, possibly, or maybe you think that how they can get in this product management role if they are freshmen, possibly, or if they come from a different background or a major. So, which path and which direction they should like look upon or look ahead to get in this product management?
Okay. Yeah, so I think that's a very relevant question, and a lot of people ask me that. And if you look at, like, if you go on LinkedIn and if you look at different product management profiles, product manager profiles, you will see it's not really a necessary requirement for you to have a technology background. Now, see, recruitment is always a game of signals. So if you have a BTech degree, it is basically giving a signal to the recruiter that you understand technology. The same signal can also be given in a lot of different other ways. You can do a side project, you can build a product on your own, you can create a GitHub profile, learn coding, little bit of coding. Not like, as a product manager, I don't code, but I need to understand, if you're targeting a software product, then you need to understand how the product works. So that much amount. So basically, even if you're not from a technology background, even if you do not have work experience, please try and understand that recruitment is always a game of signals. If you're not able to give that signal through your experience or your education, try giving the same signal to the recruiter through a different model. Maybe you can start a technology blog and like you write, you can use that in your resume as well. The technology blog that you write, you invite people and talk to them about the latest technologies. You basically have to show that you understand technology, even if you're not from a BTech background. So that level of understanding is required. And then as far as product management is concerned, there are 4 key skill areas which are required of product management. One is technology, if you are targeting a technology product. Now, product manager as a role also exists in FMCG, it also exists in finance, it exists in a lot of different domains. But if you are specifically targeting technology products or technology companies, then technology is the first skill that you need to have. Second is product skill, third is business, and fourth is industry. So the idea is that you should be able to highlight these skills on your resume, either through your work or through your education or through your side projects or through anything else that you like. I think in this day and age, there are a lot of resources available through which you can actually learn and showcase skills. You don't really have to rely on a professional degree, or you don't have to rely on a particular experience to do that. So you have to show these 4 skills on your resume to get filtered through the resume filtering process. And then when you're sitting for the interview, it all boils down to how much do you know. It all boils down to your skills. So when you're sitting for the interview, your pedigree, your degree will not matter so much. What will matter is how much you know. So my recommendation would be to build your skills. Whatever role is it, not just product management, whatever role you are targeting, please filter out what are the skills required for the role. Leave out the degree part, the experience part, just filter out what is the skill required. And after you have filtered those skills, work on those skills and find ways to showcase that on your resume. Because the first step will always be resume shortlisting. You won't get interviewed directly. So after learning the skills, you also have to figure out a way of showcasing those skills. Showcase those skills, and then you will be able to transition into the role that you want. That is the process that I would recommend to anyone who is targeting product management.
Okay, ma'am. Or then adding up to the next question, where so let's suppose somebody is a freshman from college and he really had no connection with technology, but he is interested to get in this technological, I'll say, product management role. So which are the courses or certification that you would suggest them, what you said about Internet of Things in the past, or the R or Python or any language that you think that would be relevant for a certain product? Obviously, I mean, different company would require different certification, but again, we're a very, I'll say, a generic answer to this question. What do you think, ma'am? Like, which courses or which certification they should focus on so that actually the resume could be shortlisted for the further process, and they can compete with people, who are like maybe in a BTech graduation or who are computer engineers in the past.
Yeah. So, see, as a product manager, and all roles after MBA are not so much on the technical side, I would say. Like as a product manager in tech, you need to understand how technology works. You're not really required to do any coding or any code reviews. But if you're someone who's like absolutely starting from the beginning, like as you said, an absolute freshman, then my recommendation would be learn the basics of coding. Not any particular language, any language that you want, like learn basic C or C sharp or C++, anything that people learn at the college or the school level. Learn the basics of that, any one language. What that will help you understand is that how does coding work? Like you, as you said, like every product is built on a different tech stack. So you're not expected to know the entire tech stack. Even the professionals are not expected to know that. Even if I'm like, I currently work at Microsoft for product A. If I go for product B, even within Microsoft, that tech stack is going to be different. And even anybody who's trying to hire me will not be asking me questions deep into tech and seeing how much do I understand that particular technology. They will only be trying to gauge how much do I understand technology on a general level. So my first recommendation would be that if you have had no experience with coding, neither in school nor in college, like you have zero experience in coding, then first of all, learn the basics of coding. Like try and learn any one particular language, any very simple, learn C. I would say just go and learn C at the basics level, the first year levels, first year BTech level C. People who join BTech, the first year course is same for everyone, whether you are a mechanical engineer, electronics, or computer science. First year, the basics are taught to everyone. In that, the coding language that was taught to us was C. And I had prior experience with coding, so I found it fairly simpler. But I also was studying with batchmates who had no experience with coding. They came from different schools with no experience in coding. And for them also, it was like, it was a bit of a journey to learn that language, but it helped them understand technology better once they learned that amount of coding. So that level of coding, first of all, try and do that, like somewhere. Either do, like, there are a lot of resources available online, or you can just buy a C book and just, there are a lot of books available for coding. Just buy a book and start coding on your own. That also you can do. Just learn the basics. That's step number one. Step number two, I would say, for technology learning for anybody who's absolutely new would be to learn design. So there is something called a UX design, user experience design. And in MBA, there's a course called design thinking, which basically focuses on mapping the customer journey and figuring out where the problem is and solving for that problem. That is more critical thinking, business oriented. But from a technology standpoint, there is something called user experience design, which is like core design. If you're designing a website, if you're designing a mobile app, how is that going to look like? So there are certain principles of design. I'm trying to think here. So there's coherence, there is consistency. There are number of principles of design which are to be followed every time you're designing a product, whether it's a hardware product or a software product. So if you are someone who's absolutely starting from the beginning and does not understand technology at all, but is targeting a technology product as a product manager, then please go and understand design. The course that I would recommend is that one course which I personally did a long time back was from Georgia Tech. It's available on Coursera for Introduction to User Experience Design. It's a very, very basic course, very basic course. In fact, after that, you will have to go and research on your own as well. There are things which are taught in the course at a very basic level, but you will have to go and research it on your own. So start there. Do a very basic course on user experience design if you have no idea what it means and what are the principles of it. You can also go and read books. One book that I always recommend for people to understand design is The Design of Everyday Things by Don Norman. So go and read books about design. So that's the second aspect of, I would say, technical knowledge that is required of a product manager. One is coding, second is design. Third, I would say, is analytics, data analytics. So as product manager, you are required to work with a lot of data. After you have launched a product, you have to gauge the engagement, you have to gauge how many users are using it, what is the pattern of usage, a lot of things. Even before launching the product, when you're trying to do a research around a particular product or even a feature of a product, you're trying to add a feature into a product and you're doing your research around it, then even in that, you have to deal with a lot of data and you have to see some patterns in data to be able to make a decision about it. So data analytics becomes data analysis, I would say, becomes another important technical skill that is required of a product manager. Like, you should not be afraid of dealing with those numbers. You should be able to understand those numbers and put them into perspective of how they are useful for your product. So that's the third technical skill that I would recommend that people go after. So yeah, so I think, yeah, these three will basically give you a starting point. If you are targeting product management and you have no knowledge of technology at all, these three things will give you the starting point. And once you mention this on your resume, find a way to showcase it and keep building on it, your chances, the probability of you getting a product manager role improves. So this is how I would recommend that you go about it.
Well, yeah, I guess hope our audience would work on this and find it more informational. So
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
now
yeah.
it's what I feel about it, ma'am.
I hope they find it useful, because see, this is a very big topic in itself. Like, if you're starting from scratch, then there are a lot of things that need to be done. But I'm giving the starting points actually. Once you get into it, once you start learning coding, you will yourself find there are a lot of things to learn there. When you start getting into design, you will understand how vast it is. Like, there's actually a role called UX designer. Like, there's a dedicated person, a dedicated team that only works on design, even when you are the product manager, because that's so huge. Like, you'll never be able to, just by doing one course, you will never be able to understand it fully. But I'm giving a starting point so that people get interested in it. They learn, when they go and do the course, they will get some pointers to explore. So that way they will be able to build up on their skills, so that when they are sitting for interviews, they at least have the basic knowledge that is required of a product manager for the role.
We're now coming to the most important and crucial question, I'll say, the summer internship, like people that have. But then adding on to this question, where as a couple of them would be work experience people in our class, possibly, and maybe some of them who are freshmen who maybe, who do not really have that kind of exposure to work, I'll say, and they're still trying to figure out. And so somebody who actually want to get in product management regardless of their major, and maybe you said, oh, there are a lot of areas that they can work upon within the product manager and being a product manager in the future. So how do you think that looking for their first internship, or maybe do you think somehow, according to your experience over the past years and even now at present, do you think that the internship somehow would really affect the final placement that would be coming up for, for the final placement for the students as a product management role? Or do you think that maybe you can, go with any internship regardless, maybe if it fulfills the skills criteria that are required to be a product manager? So can we choose a different industry and then be a product manager, or is it compulsory to, stick with, I'll say, only product management companies and then, just switch our roles with that? And so will that be, relevant, or what do you think about this question? A lot of people have it.
Yes. Yeah, I totally understand, because I've been through the same system, so I know where you're coming from. So there are two things which I want to talk about here. First of all, I'll talk about a little bit about my own experience with summer placement. So as I said, I was the first person, I think, in my entire family and my friend circle who was doing an MBA. So I had absolutely no guidance. Like, I did not know what to expect once I entered those hallowed portals. So what I felt from my journey, what I've learned is that summer placements happen very quickly. Like, you are on campus and within 3-4 months you are facing summer placements. That's a very less amount of time for you to be able to figure out what exactly do you want to do after MBA, if you have not figured it out already. In my case, since I was very sure about technology, even then I got swayed a little bit, because I was seeing consulting for the first time, I was seeing investment banking for the first time, and I was trying to think also, like, does this make sense to me? Will I be good at it? Will I want to do this? So I was also swayed a little bit. And plus, MBAs, B schools are a place where there are like 10,000 things happening at the same time, especially when you are in your first year or first trimester, I would say. And then everything is advertised as if it's very important for your career. Like, every life project, every club, every committee is advertised that this is the most important thing for you to do. And when you have no guidance, you end up running in all 10,000 directions. And then you later realize only very, very few things out of those were actually important for you or helpful for you in the direction that you wanted to take. So the first problem is that the time is very limited. By the time, like, from the time you enter into the B school curriculum till the time you face summer placement, the time is very, very, the window is very small. So it's not very, I won't say it's not enough for everybody to figure out what exactly they want from a summer internship or from their final placements. So from my experience, what happened was that I was sure I wanted to get into technology. I got swayed a little bit, but then I did not get a single shortlist from any technology company because my background was in operations. I had worked with a PSU, so it was not going at all with what they needed. And 3 months wasn't enough time for me to change my skills. I didn't even know, like I was like completely clueless that I can actually change my background by doing something else or doing a life. I did not know anything at that point of time. So I was just going with the flow. I did not have anything on my resume which would give a signal to the recruiter that I'm interested in tech. So I did not get a single shortlist from any tech company. So that's when I started applying for a little bit of adjacent roles as well. I applied for telecom and in fact supply chain management because I was from an operations background. So that's where I felt that the practical thing to do right now is to go for an internship that I might actually get. So I got into Vodafone as a supply chain management intern. And I, even after getting that internship, I was absolutely sure that this is not where I want to go. Like for the in summer placement, it's fine, I got it, but I do not want to continue. So when I was working at Vodafone, I actually made it clear to, like, it was a very good experience, a very good learning experience. But I made it clear to my managers over there that this is not where I want to build my career in. So I was of the complete, like I was very clear in my mindset that I don't want a PPO. So that's where I felt that in my case, my summer placement did not affect my final placement. So my final placement was completely different from my summer placement. And it was by design a little bit because I did not want it to, I wanted a very different direction from what I had gone into in my summer placement. So that's the first point. So it will affect to an extent as much as you want it to affect. That will be my answer to your question. How much does it really affect your final placement? Now I come to the second point. Now, second point is basically three sub points. Now, the first, actually, three different categories of where you are, and according to that, you can choose your summer placement. So, the first category is of those people who are absolutely clear of what they want. Like they're absolutely clear the exact role, the exact domain that they want to get into. So for those people, it's very simple. Go and apply for the roles for the summer placements which are closest to what you want. If either they are exactly what you want or they are closest to what you want, go and apply for them, get placed in them, and use that learning experience. And if you want a PPO, like if it's exactly what you want and you want a PPO from that very same company, then you can try for that, go for the PPO, and you are done. Like you don't even have to sit for the final placements. That's category number one of people, which in my experience is a very small pool of people who are absolutely sure of what they want, and they also get what they want in the summer placements. So they can go in that direction and forget about final placement. So no worries there. The second category of people are the ones who are exploring, who are not exactly sure what they want. They have just entered the school. They are exploring all the different domains: marketing, finance, operations, technology, FMCG, finance. Where do they want to go? They're just exploring. So for them, I would say that the practical thing to do would be to go for an organization or a role that is offering you this opportunity to explore, which is large enough. Either it's large enough for you to be able to work in one department and still do network with people from other departments, so that while you are there for 2 months, you are able to understand how that business works. For example, if you land up in an FMCG, maybe in sales internship, while you are doing sales, you are also interacting with marketing, you're also interacting with operations, you're able to understand how that FMCG business works, how the FMCG industry works. So that experience becomes a learning experience for you, and you are able to use it in your finance. That skill learning, that understanding, you are able to use while you are building skills for your final placement. So that's second category of people. Now, third category of people, I would say, is the ones who are like absolutely not sure where they want to land. Plus, I won't say this is the category of people more. It's more like a suggestion that you have to be a little practical as well. Like if you are not at all getting anything adjacent to what you want to do, like you are exploring, you're not sure, plus you're not even getting to, like, you have a bit of idea, okay, this is a good brand, I want to go for it, but you're not getting a short list from it, or for whatever reason. So for those people, I would suggest that try and use your summer placement as just as a learning platform. Like be absolutely clear that this is not what you want to be going for in your final placement. So make that absolutely clear while you are in your summer placements, like when you're working with the people of that particular company. Try and, like, in the best possible way, just try to let them know that you are still exploring and you are not going to be taking up a role here permanently. Use that experience as a learning experience, plus build your skills for your final placement. Now, this third category is what I'm highlighting, because I want to also highlight that the system inherently is not very fair. So it might happen that you're absolutely clear, but you're not getting the shortlist for what you're clear about. That happened to me as well. So the system is not inherently fair. So don't be disheartened. Your summer placement, as I said, will only affect your final placement if you let it affect it. So if you're going to use it just as a learning experience, it's going to remain as a learning experience. It will have no effect on your final placement. But if you want to hold on to it and you want to build a career in that area, then you can give yourself to it and work really hard and go for a PPO and like try for everything that it's in your power to be in that job for the longer term. So that's the three, I would say that's a way in which I would divide how you can use your summer placement for going towards whatever you want to do.
So regardless of our like interest, whatever, and we doing the same major, you said even if we figured out just late, possibly, then we can still switch. We still have hopes
Correct.
in the future to work upon and be that person.
So if you have still not figured it out, then it's all the more important to not stick with the summer placement that you are getting. Maybe like your interest will change. If you are still on the verge, if you are still in the exploration stage, then do not become very attached to the brand or whatever summer placement you've got. Like use that time just for exploration, and then give yourself some time to assimilate the knowledge that you've got, and then decide on what is it exactly that you want to do. So I'm trying to say is that you will have a second chance in your final placements. It's not that if you got a summer placement at something, then you have to stick with it forever, or that will just like affect a lot your final placements. That's not going to happen. You still have time. You still have an opportunity even after getting your summer placement. You have 1.5 years. You can use those years to build the skills. As I said earlier, also skills matter more than the pedigree or the degree. So build the skills for your role of choice, and if you want, the summer placement will not play a role in your final placements.
No. But then, I mean, you said at the beginning, right? If any student or any like applicant or any person who actually wish, to be this product manager in the future, you said that maybe you have ways or you can, you help people to figure out that you can shorten the journey, you can reduce that amount.
Right.
Can you just talk about this, like, and tell people in the audience who are listening to us right now in a way that, how can you reduce that journey if we are, again, totally clueless? To give us maybe a direction so we can reduce that amount over the years and we can achieve more with that limited period and what you have achieved so far in your careers, ma'am.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I would say let's go back to what we were talking about, skills versus degree. So skills is definitely going to matter more, whether it's product management or anything else. So if I have to shorten the journey for people who are absolutely sure they want to get into product management, my number one advice would be go and research product management roles from all different domains. Go to a health tech company, fintech company, go to core technology companies like Microsoft, Google. Go to their career websites and go through the requirement of a product manager role, entry level product management role, and assimilate the information that you get from everywhere. Like you can do this research on LinkedIn, you can do it on Naukri.com, you can go to their career website and look at what they're asking for in their career website. So assimilate this information, filter it out, filter what are the skills required. And I guarantee you, because I've done this process and I've done it much later, I didn't do it when I was in my MBA when I had the time, because I did not know of this process at that point of time. But I guarantee you, you will come across a set of skills which are commonly required for product management role, whether it is in health tech or fintech or Microsoft or Google. Anyway, there's a specific set of skills required for product management. Now go after those skills. See how much of that is already, how much of that you already have, and how much of that you need to develop. So whatever you already have, how do you show that on your resume? How do you write your resume in a way that actually shows the skills that you have for product management? And for whatever you don't have, go and build those skills. Go and do courses, go and read books, go and talk to your professors on how to build it, go and talk to people online, maybe, like if you are able to get in your summer placements, or even otherwise, if you're able to interact with people who are already doing that job, go and ask them. So somehow just build the skills which you are currently lacking in from the ones that you have filtered. So, and then find a way to showcase that on your resume. So that will be the second step. First is find the skills, second is build the skills, third is find a way to show those skills on your resume. These are the steps that you need to follow if you are targeting a product management role. Or I would say this is a generic set of 3 steps that you need to follow if you're targeting any kind of role. if you are in your first year of MBA, you actually have a lot of time to do this. So skill building is something that actually takes time. It's not that one day you decide and the next day you have the skill. Be it anything, whether it's a soft skill, hard skill, it's going to take time. So use your time well. You have 1.5 years. Use your time well. Build those skills, and just be consistent in your learning, like skilling up in those areas. If you have figured out the areas that are required, skill areas that are required for product management, you have to skill up in those areas consistently. So the 4 areas that I talked about, those are majorly the areas, but there are subcategories in those areas as well. Technology is what we talked about in detail. Then there are product skills. So how do you look at a product holistically? What is the vision of the product? What is the roadmap of the product? All that comes under product skills. Those are core skills required of a product manager that come under product skills. Number 3 is business skills. Business skills is what you learn in your MBA. So whatever you do as market research, competition research, analysis, industry analysis, all of that is business skills. If you're building a product, it has to be taken to market for profit when you're working for a for-profit organization, right? So you have to do the ROI analysis on everything that you are building, whether it is worth building it, whether it's worth taking to market or not. Looking at it from a business angle is the third skill that is required. And I think this category is already covered in your MBA curriculum, more or less. So you don't have to put in a lot of effort for it. Number 4 is industry skills, industry knowledge actually. So as I said, product management is a widespread role in the sense that it is everywhere in technology. So the domain your product is in, you need to have an understanding of the domain as well. If it's a health tech product, for example, I have worked as a product manager in healthcare IoT, in industrial IoT, and now I'm working on something that is very core technology product. So all what I understand about the domain will also affect my decisions as a product manager. Like I need to understand the healthcare industry in India to be able to build a product for it. I'll have to find that white space somewhere in the industry to be able to launch my product. I will have to understand what are the growth drivers for this industry. Where is it right now? How much investment is in this industry? How much regulation is there in this industry? What regulation can impact my product? So that kind of understanding of the industry is the 4th area of skill that is required of a product manager. So these are broad areas. These are 4 broad areas of skills required for product management. If you are currently pursuing your MBA, start with these as the basic points, build your skills in these areas, and find a way to showcase these skills on your resume. That's all you have to do to move forward in this journey of being a product manager.
Yeah, or I mean, I feel like all the information would help, people in all the audience listening right now to understand their journey to being a product manager, like all the information that you've been sharing apart. Where, moving on with the couple of this question that I have, but product manager, and you being at this position for a couple of years now, what do you think what is the future of product management, and like what level it can like pay you pretty well in terms of, and what do you think maybe in 10, 15, 20 years, how do you see that this product management role, or who want to actually get in this roles? So what kind of future they can expect, the lifestyle, the work-life balance that they can talk about, and because this is, I guess, every student or maybe every employee even at your age, who actually working to look for work-life balance, mostly because a lot of time it's getting pretty stressful. And how do you think, and then again, in the COVID times, things change a lot. Everybody was working online. So how do you think that if anyone who want to get into this, and again, maybe there might be future pandemics coming up and hitting us all around the globe. So how do you think that we should tackle that and, look out for solutions and, have that work-life balance as working at Microsoft and a great organization, so you can, if you share your experience and tell more about the audience, like the future of product management.
Sure. You've answered a couple of questions there. So first, let me talk about the future of product management. So product management as a domain has gained a little bit of hype in India very recently. Like I would say in the past 3-4 years is when people are talking a lot about product management in India. But as a domain, as a role, it has existed with the larger tech organizations for like since time immemorial. I think since the organizations were formed, product management as a role has always existed. But in India, we are only discovering it very recently, I would say. That's where all the hype is coming from. Because like if I go back in time 3-4 years, like I completed my MBA in 2017, and when I was on campus from 15 to 17, there wasn't so much hype about product management. Investment banking and consulting were actually the most hyped up roles, I would say. People were more willing to go in that direction than go in the direction of product management. It was not very well understood. It was not very it was not something that people were actively aiming to get into. But now I see that a lot of people in my batch who did not start in tech are trying to shift towards tech, because now there's a lot of there's a lot of buzz around it, and definitely we can see the impact of technology is increasing with every passing year, I would say. Like the way we interact with technology, the way technology makes our lives better or worse, that impact is much larger with every passing year. And I think that's where people see growth, and that's where people are trying to move into product management in India also. And the other thing that I would say, the other thing that is driving this hype around product management and is driving the growth of product management as a whole is the very vibrant entrepreneurship startup ecosystem in India. So product management, product manager in simple terms is someone who creates products, like any. And and if you go and do a little bit of research, you will see that a lot of founders, startup founders, either started as product managers, or they are like, after they are done with their entrepreneurial journey, they end up as product manager, senior product managers or product managers in large tech organizations. Large tech organizations, at least in US, there's a trend that a lot of founders are preferred. Actually, founders, if there are startup founders who are applying for a product manager role, they're actually preferred, because that's in a miniature form. That's what a product manager does. You have to create a product, you have to take it to market, you're completely accountable for one particular product. So the role is very similar to, I would say, a little bit similar or very similar to being a startup founder as well. So the growing startup ecosystem in India, the vibrant startup ecosystem in India, is also fueling the growth of product management. Startups are hiring product managers a lot, because they the startups in India, or I would say anywhere, a lot of startups are product-based startups. So they need product managers to drive that growth. And even in product management, there are variations. There are growth product managers. There are technology product managers. So all of them are responsible for one particular aspect of the product, completely responsible for one particular aspect of the product. So there's a need in the market. There's a need from large tech companies. There's a need from startups. There is a need for product managers in the job market, I would say. And that is fueling the growth. So if I have to say the next 10, 15 years, I see this growing as the space growing, the requirement for product managers growing. 10, 15 years is actually a very long time. Technology is very quickly changing and the world is very quickly evolving. So I cannot say for 10, 15 years, but at least in the next 5 years, I see huge demand for product managers, huge requirements coming up in the job market for product managers. That much I can say. Now, if I come to work-life balance, it actually depends a lot on the culture of the company as well as the nature of your product. If it's a critical product, then I wouldn't say, like, then you will never be guaranteed a good work-life balance, so to say. Because if the product itself is critical and you are the product manager, then obviously you have to be on your toes. You have to be available. You are the one accountable. Everyone is accountable, but you are also accountable. So you have to be present in a way that in whatever way your product needs you or your customers need you to be there. And then second is, of course, the culture of the company. So I've had a fabulous experience with Microsoft. I would say Microsoft is one of the best places to work for if you're looking for work-life balance. It actually pays a lot of emphasis on employee work-life balance. But and again, see, it's a very large organization. So my experience has been really good. Now, I don't know about the experience of people working with other teams. Maybe the team culture is different, or maybe the product nature of the product is such that they do not have a good work-life balance. So a lot will depend on the culture of the team and the nature of the product that you join in. So this is something not guaranteed. Like, it cannot be guaranteed that if you join so-and-so organization, or if you become a product manager, you will have good work-life balance. Not guaranteed. So that's something that I would recommend, that whoever is aiming for a product manager role, research the company that they are aiming for, research the role, the product that they are aiming for. That will give you a good idea of what the work-life balance is. You can also talk to the people who are already working on that product. So that's on the work-life balance part. Then what was your last question? I forgot.
Where it was more about, like, the same, the cultures, and the work-life balance, like how people being as a product manager. I mean, where do you see yourself, like, in a couple of years, that your future, as you said, right, this is going on. So this is the last question again about a work-life balance that we have. So yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I think in any role, as we go forward, or as you climb the corporate ladder, as I said, the work-life balance sort of goes down, because you're taking in more responsibility, taking on more responsibility now. You're responsible for a lot more. So be it any role, like even if you are in finance or even if you are in marketing, from the moment you go from mid-management to senior management roles, you become a lot more responsible. But again, it depends on the structure and the culture of the company. If the structure is such that the responsibility is actually shared, or There's a culture of delegating responsibility, a culture of trust. So if that is there, then you will be able to balance your work life well. But if it's not the case, and the company pays a lot of emphasis on individual responsibility or individual accountability, then obviously you will not have that work life balance. And plus, for me personally, I think I look at it very differently. I actually enjoy my work, so I've never really aimed for work life balance. I try to fit in my life around my work. Not recommended, by the way, like that's just me. But so I don't I have never faced that challenge, because I'm not at that stage in my career also that I need that kind of balance. So I'm happy doing what I'm doing, and maybe like as I go forward, I'll figure it out. Like with everything else, I'll figure it out as I go along. So that's where I am. But yeah, like my recommendation would be, do research the company culture a little bit if you are really like at a stage in your career or in your life where you need that balance.
And then I would just like to, I mean, I would just like ask you to conclude this thing. Like, I mean, any suggestions or I'll say any recommendations that you would like to give to all the students or, anyone who's currently is pursuing their MBA. And moreover, like, as you talked a lot about this, like the work-life balance and things, deciding their passion. But, then what if we are not sure which companies, because see, we go on the internet, we do a lot of research, but maybe we are, what you said, totally clueless. And what you mentioned, the third category of people, deciding on the summer internship, again, kind of the same question. So as a lot of us, I'll say majority of us fall in the same category. We don't really know, which industry we would really love to work upon. And you've shared your experience about Vodafone, right? That then you thought, okay, it was a great experience. You love the culture, but then you don't want to continue the industry. You want to switch it back. So then what are you going to say to those people who actually got into a course like this, or maybe who are pursuing their, summer internships, and they don't have a direction. Even they do a lot of research, still we're confused. And I'll say a lot of us still are. And you said, what do you love doing? The passion. So obviously it will come with more experience and skills, but I'll say with the initial days, putting in your first step in careers, how do you think about it? About this question, that how should we approach this and deal with these kind of situations for us?
So there's the first practical advice I would give is that start with general management roles. Like if you are completely clueless, even after doing your summer internship, even after completing your first year of MBA, you are still completely clueless as to what is it that you would want to do or like to do, then I would say start with general management. At least when I was in Indore, we used to get at least a few companies who used to offer general management roles. So start there. Like if you are completely clueless, then just start with the general management role. When you start working there, then you will figure out that, okay, this is something out of, see, how general management works is that they give you stints of 3 months or 6 months in different domains. Like first 3 months you are working in sales, next 3 months you're working in operations, next 3 months you're working in strategy, and by the end of the year they will ask you what did you like the most and where would you like to go. A lot of companies offer that kind of programs for MBA grads. So if you're completely clueless, target those companies, target the ones which offer this kind of a role where there's like a 1 year probation period or a 1 year training period where you get to work with all different departments, and then you get to decide where you want to go, because when you're actually working is when you will be able to understand it better. So that's one practical option that you have. The second thing which I would say, which is not very practical, but it will take a little bit of effort, is to, I would say, learn the art of researching. I would say, like, always if people say that I did the internet research and I'm still confused, but internet research is not just research. Like, learn the art of researching, and this is a very important skill. Even when you go and start working in the corporates or anywhere for that matter, research will be very important. Whether you're a product manager or a marketing manager or research is extremely important for whatever you are doing. So learn the skill of researching while you are in your MBA. That was definitely a piece of advice that I would give everyone. And start by researching about your own career. Start like apply. How do you learn the skill? You go out and do a proper research about all the roles that are there which might interest you. So even if you're completely clueless, there will be some starting point. Like after you've completed 1 year of MBA, there'll be at least some understanding of what marketing is, what finance is, what operations is, what FMCG does, what maybe what happens in the oil and gas industry, what happens in the technology industry. Some basic understanding will be there. So out of all of that you know so far, what is it that is little bit standing out to you? Maybe it's not one thing, maybe it is three, four things, but there'll be three, four things that are little bit better than everything else. Or you'll be clear, okay, this is something that I definitely don't want to do. So just cut it out and just what is remaining, just focus on that. So from that, do bit of more research. And it's not just researching on the internet through a search engine or anything like that. Try and contacting people who are working in that domain. And I think with this day and age, it's already that is already available. You can go on LinkedIn, you can talk to your professors, they can help you connect with somebody. If you're in an MBA, if you're in a B school curriculum, I've always found that there's a huge network around you of professors, of your peers who have actually, like, you might be a freshman, but there'll be peers of yours who have worked in the industry in the past, in a particular industry. So try and figure out if there's somebody has worked in an industry that you are a little bit interested in or not interested in, and you get curious about it. You go and talk to that person and try to get his or her view as to how that industry works. Does that make sense to you? Can that person get you connected to some other person who can give you more details about what that role is all about, right? Like if you have your batchmates who have worked in the IT industry, maybe a TCS or an Infosys, and you are aiming for a product manager role and you have no idea how technology works, you should go and talk to that person. He or she will be able to tell you how technology works. At least that skill you will be able to get, and that understanding you will be able to get from them as to what the role is really like, and then you can decide whether it's for you or not. So internet research is not the only form of research. It's the starting of research. Learn the skill of researching and apply that skill in researching for your own career. This is a bit longer term. The first advice that I gave, let's start with general management. That is like the quick thing that you can do if you have no time. You're near your final placements and you have no idea still. You can start by applying to general management roles. Try getting into general management roles, that they will help you. And if you have time, then apply the second option. Do detailed research, talk to people, read books, talk to your professors. Try to find out what those roles are about, the ones which you are very little bit interested in, and then you will be able to figure out which one is the most standing out to you, or which career path is the most standing out to you, and then you go on that path. So these are the two ways I would recommend that people can follow in order to get to what is it that they would want to do in their life, at least for the next few years. As I said, we are living in a very fast changing world, so maybe after a few years, whatever you put so much effort in is no more relevant to you. Maybe you're not enjoying it as much, so you will want to change your path. And that is also done. Like a lot of my batchmates have changed their paths, they changed their domains, changed their industries. That can also be done. There's a process and for it as well. But for now, as an MBA student, the goal is to be able to use your time well and to be able to gain as much understanding as possible, and use that understanding to build a career that you would actually want to follow for at least few years.
So, well, in conclusion, I'd just like you to conclude this. I mean, how would you say? And asking one last question is, if you are, as being a product manager, hire students or any person from anywhere else, like maybe corporate or maybe students who are studying till their masters, would you prefer their skills over their grades, or their grades over skills? And how would you set that parameter? I mean, obviously there'll be a certain criteria that organizations do follow, but would you prefer somebody, who is kind of pretty much persistent with academics over the years? Because there might be a chance where, students' performance, I mean, he might or she might be intelligent enough to go and, deal with all the situations out there to be a product manager. They have all those skills, but maybe for some reason they are unable to perform pretty well because, as you mentioned earlier, it's like quite fast, like you have a lot of case studies came in the first time, you had a case let's come in and you're exposed to this new culture, and there are a lot of clubs and a lot of things going around, and you're kind of enjoying that thing because you believe that maybe that is the last stop of your life where you're going to be a student anymore. So people kind of get misdirected. So can you tell more about this? Like, how would you, as being this person, as being a product manager, look up to this thing, as from your own perspective, or anybody who would hire students?
So totally relate to what you just said. Like I always say this, that there are so many things happening around you. There are 10,000 things happening around you, and you start running in all 10,000 directions because everybody's saying this is important, and this is your last chance. So I totally agree with what you were saying. Like I've been through that system. I can understand the plight of all of you, the situation that all of you are in right now. So totally agree with that. So now, there are two things here. Like if I have to personally hire someone as a product manager, I would look at their skills, purely at their skills. I will not really go for their grades. Although, as you said, recruitment is a game of signals. So if someone has consistently done well academically, that is also a signal for the recruiter that they are consistent with their performance, they can deal with a lot of things. So that is a signal that recruiters can use, but that signal is only relevant up till the resume filtering process. Once the candidate is sitting in front of you for interview, none of that matters. All that matters is how much the candidate actually knows. The skills matter most. So if I have to hire someone, even at the resume filtering stage, I will look at their skills. I will look for signals for skills of product management. I will not go for the grades. I will look at, although grades can also be a signal for me, but if nothing else is working out, if I don't, like, I want to see that the person understands technology. I want to see that the person can look at a product holistically. I want to see that the person has business knowledge. And if I'm hiring for a particular industry, if I'm hiring for health tech and the person has a background in healthcare somewhere or the other, then that is a big plus for me because I know the person understands the industry as well. So I will look for signals of skills. I will not look for grades. But if all other signals fail, if there is no signal, then I will go for grades and I will look at, okay, what has the person done academic? If the person has not done anything outside of academics, only academics, then I will want to see something promising in academics because you have not done anything else. So I don't have any other option. I have to look at your academics. So that's how it works. It's a game of signals. If your academics are the only signal you're giving the recruiter, then it has to be really good. But if you are giving other signals, then it's fine. Then it's not that important. So then when we come to grades versus skills, the debate that we were having. So I would again say there are two things here. So first of all, you need to have, like, if you are pursuing a degree, and unless you are one of those people who is going to drop out in the middle and start a business of their own, unless you are one of those people and you are actually pursuing a degree till the end, then you actually have to get the passing marks. Otherwise, it's a colossal waste of effort and time. So you have to get that respectable grade at least, because you want that degree and you want to use it later in your life. So that respectable grade has to be there. That's point number one. Point number two is when you are in your bachelor's degree, whether it's a BBA or a BTech or a BCom or anything, your grades matter a lot more than what they matter after your MBA. And the reason is that we are pursuing your bachelor's right after your school. As I said, there is no other signal. There's probably no other signal apart from your academics. If you're very active and you're doing a lot of side projects and other things, there are other signals, but otherwise your academics are my only signal as a recruiter. So I will definitely look at it. Secondly, the bachelor's degree are very much hard skill oriented. Like they are designed to train you in one particular skill only. Like BTech degree is only for the tech skills. BBA is only for business skills. BCom is only for commerce skills. It's designed to make you good at one particular hard skill, one particular area of hard skill. And the jobs that you get after your bachelor's are also focused on that hard skill. So that's where grades are important, because that's what we are expecting you to do when you come and join us. If you don't join us as an engineer, we're actually expecting you to do coding. And that's where I will look at your grades. If you are a computer science engineer, I will look at your grades because that's what you're supposed to do also later. But in an MBA, the situation changes. When you're going for an MBA, first of all, you might actually have experience in the industry before joining an MBA. I had 2 years of experience. So that becomes a lot more, that real world experience becomes a lot more important signal for the recruiter than your grades, because you've already crossed that bar of doing a job. You're already doing a job and then you're going for an MBA. So what you did in your job becomes important for me as a recruiter. If you have not done a job, like if you directly went from doing your bachelor's to doing your MBA, then again, grades will matter a little bit because I don't have a real world signal to go after. At the same time, in MBA, you get a lot of opportunity. In these schools, in India at least, you get a lot of opportunity to change, I would say, balance your grades with a lot of other activities. You can do live projects, you can do side hustles, you can clubs, committees. There are a lot of ways in which you can balance out your grades. Like you can give the recruiter an opportunity to go beyond the grades by doing a lot of other side projects. So that's where also grades in MBA do not matter as much as they would have mattered in your bachelor's. And then the third point is that for some roles, grades matter more than the other roles. In my experience, and this is coming totally from my experience, when I was on campus, the consulting roles and the investment banking roles, they required you to have a certain high grade before they allowed you to sit for the interviews. That was like, it was never made public. This was not ever announced that you need to have this much grade to sit. all the resumes were sent, everybody could apply. But then the pattern that I observed was that the higher grades are actually a requirement for consulting and investment banking roles. I don't know what the situation is now, but at least when I was doing my MBA, that was the situation. But for other roles, like especially for product management, I would say, or marketing roles or sales roles, it was never a requirement. Like it was never, even in the patterns that I saw, it was never a pattern that only the people with higher grades were able to go for those roles. It was a skill game, more of a skill game than a grade game, and that's that's where the difference came. Where I would say that if you are actually aiming for a role and that role requires you to have a high grade, then you obviously need to focus on getting good grades. But if you're aiming for a role where the skills are the more important factor, then focus on building skills along with having a respectable grade that you pass. So that much is required. So those are the patterns that I have observed with grades, that people can think for themselves as to where you are going to, and according to that, how much of the grade is going to matter for you.
Thank you, ma'am. We're talking about grades, and I guess it would be great for people to figure out like which industry they want to get in and focus on their grades and not run in many directions.
Yeah, that's the important thing. Don't run in all the different directions. That's actually the biggest trap of MBA. Like it has this way of keeping you busy, which is good. You learn time management, but it's also very bad because it keeps you running in different directions, and most of those directions aren't even useful for you. So that's where I always suggest students, please pause and please reflect. Please use this time to actually understand what is it that you want to do. Don't just run in all different directions. Just try to figure it out for yourself, because that will go a long way. That will help you a lot when you've actually left the campus and you're trying for other jobs. Having that clarity of thought is going to help you a lot. It will help you keep building your skills in that direction.
And thank you for sharing all this. And any more suggestions, or if you want to sum it up, like about the entire session, what we discussed to our audience. So just for a couple of points that you would like to share.
Just to summarize, I would say that the reason why I shared my journey was to let people know that there's an option at every step. Like you don't have to settle. Like it's not that this is your last opportunity with the summer placement that you got. You are done now. You cannot change your field. Or with the job that you get in your final placement, you are done now. You cannot change your field. So there's nothing like that. You can always change your field. What is more important is that you know where you want to go. So having that clarity of thought will actually be the driver for you to be able to build your skills. That will give you the ambition, the passion to build your skills. That clarity of thought is the first step. So develop that clarity of thought as to where you want to go. Spend a lot of time in getting that clarity. The amount of time that we spend in running on all directions, reduce on that and focus that energy on getting that clarity of thoughts first, and then run with the full speed in the direction that you want to go into, not in all different directions. So do that. Use your time well in getting that clarity. Seek guidance from whichever source you can get guidance from, professors, your network, your peers. Just seek guidance. And also don't be disheartened. As I mentioned during my talk as well, that the system is not absolutely fair. The people who will be reviewing your resume or who will be interviewing you are human beings. So human beings are like, we all have conscious and unconscious biases. So don't be disheartened. It might, like, you didn't get the job might not be because you don't have the skills. It might be because it was not your day. Maybe the questions that came your way were the ones that you did not know, or something happened. So don't be disheartened at any point of time. Just use everything as a learning experience, learn from it and move forward. Don't dwell on it too much. If you're going to dwell on it, it's going to harm you. So don't waste your time by dwelling on anything that is not going your way. Focus on what you want and go that. You force yourself to go in that direction. So that will be my recommendation.
Thank you, ma'am. I really hope now people and students, and now all the people listening to us right now, would be really clear about which direction to work upon and to be great product managers like you are, and hopefully give them a direction.
I don't know about that. I don't know whether I'm a great product manager or not, but I'm definitely trying to help others become one.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. I'll stop the recording.
Thank you so much.